High up on a mountain in north-central Connecticut stands a tower that's been a landmark for over 100 years. In its time, it's been a family home, a scene of grand parties attended by future presidents of the United States, and a beloved destination for hikers at Talcott Mountain State Park. Why was this unusual residence built? And what is it like to visit Heublein Tower? Or is it Heublein? Hi, this is History with me, Dan. In this video, I want to tell you about this amazing tower, but first we have to get the pronunciation thing out of the way. The tower was built by a German immigrant to the United States, and based on the spelling, I think the German pronunciation would be closer to something like Heublein, which got anglicized to Heublein. Now, the Heublein family started a liquor and food business that brought a lot of famous products to the United States, including A1 steak sauce and Smirnoff vodka. Some of the company's later advertising used the pronunciation Heublein, but my mother used to always say it was Heublein Tower, so we're going to go with Heublein for this video. The story of the Heubleins in America begins with Andrew Heublein, who left Germany in the wake of the Revolution of 1848. He eventually settled in Hartford, Connecticut, where he opened a cafe and small hotel at the corner of Wells and Mulberry Streets, just across from the city's picturesque Bushnell Park. Mulberry Street, which was a center for the city's German-American community, doesn't even exist anymore. It disappeared in the early 1960s when the entire area was transformed into the Bushnell Plaza redevelopment. Eventually, Andrew passed the business on to his two sons, Gilbert and Louis, who had emigrated to America with their parents when they were children. Under the name G.F. Heublein and Brother, they really expanded the business. In 1892, they introduced the world's first bottled cocktail. And in 1906, they began selling A1 steak sauce in the United States after getting the license from Britain. A1 steak sauce was really helpful during Prohibition, when they couldn't produce liquor anymore. In the early 1890s, they also built a lavish 5-story hotel just around the corner from where their father had started business years before. Sadly, the hotel was also lost to redevelopment. So what about the tower? In 1875, Andrew Heublein was hiking with his fiancée Louise along Talcott Mountain Ridge. The beauty of the scenery and the romantic mood led him to make her a promise. He declared that one day he would build her a castle on the mountain. Well, it took about 40 years, but he did eventually live up to his promise. In the meantime, they lived in a beautiful colonial revival-style house on Prospect Avenue in West Hartford. It was a long wait, but by 1914, the first phase of the tower, designed by the architectural firm of Smith and Bezet, was finished. Located over 1,000 feet above sea level, the tower is 165 feet tall and was designed to withstand 100-mile-per-hour winds. It's built of concrete, reinforced with 12-inch iron girders, anchored deep into the bedrock. This engineering achievement cost $250,000, the equivalent of almost $6 million today. There'd been earlier, now lost towers on the mountain going back to 1810, but this tower was also a family home, a summer retreat from the city, with 6 floors of rooms that were reached by one of the first residential elevators in a family home. The tower is now a museum, and back when it was restored in the 1970s, the elevator was replaced by a 2-way, fire-safe stairwell. The family's living room was on the ground floor. Then there were 3 floors of bedrooms. Gilbert and Louise had separate bedrooms, which was not uncommon at the time. Louise's room had a pair of single beds. Gilbert's room had a nice bay window, and just next door was a pleasant sleeping porch. Above the bedrooms was another floor that had a room where men would smoke cigars. On the top floor was a ballroom, where the Heubleins hosted many parties. The room is still lined with windows today that provide an incredible view. Now it's called the observation deck, and on a clear day, sharp-eyed visitors can see not only the nearby Connecticut landscape, but well into neighboring New York and Massachusetts as well. But the Heubleins weren't done. In 1919, they started Phase 2 of construction, with architect Carl Momfeld designing additional rooms, including a dining room, a larger kitchen, servants' bedrooms, and that's also when Gilbert's sleeping porch was added upstairs. And it was only a decade after that, in 1929, that the tower's construction was finally finished. The oak-paneled dining room, which can seat 12, has the family's own Jacobean-style painted oak furniture, and a Della Robbia Madonna and Child, which hangs above the soapstone fireplace mantel. Gilbert Heublein died in 1937, and his grandson, John G. Martin, took over Heublein Incorporated. He was a savvy businessman. Under his leadership, the company acquired brands like Smirnoff Vodka, which led to the invention of the Moscow Mule cocktail, Grey Poupon mustard, and KFC. In 1982, Heublein Incorporated was sold to R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company for $1.4 billion. One thing John G. Martin didn't do was use his father's tower on the mountain. When he found out in 1943 that the vacant building had accrued $43,000 in back taxes, he sold it. It was sold to the Hartford Times newspaper and renamed the Times Tower. And for almost 20 years, the paper used it for parties and social gatherings. Among many notable visitors were two future presidents. Ronald Reagan was here in 1952, back when he was head of the Screen Actors Guild, and Dwight D. Eisenhower was here in 1950 to attend a barbecue in honor of Times publisher Francis S. Murphy, who was also head of the State Aeronautics Commission. Eisenhower was attending the groundbreaking in nearby Windsor Locks for a new terminal at Bradley Field that would be named for Murphy. After the groundbreaking, they went to Times Tower, and Eisenhower rode up the elevator to check out the view. I bet someone must have pointed out to the general that from the tower he could see Bradley Field, where they had been earlier that morning. Then Eisenhower went down and put on a big apron as he and 250 Connecticut and Massachusetts business, education, and civic leaders dug into the sheep bake cooked at the Times Tower barbecue pit. In the tower's living room is the very same blue leather and oak chair that Eisenhower was sitting in when a group of prominent Republican businessmen, led by Prescott Bush, the father and grandfather of future presidents, urged Eisenhower to run in the 1952 presidential election. As we know, he won that election to become the 34th president of the United States. The Hartford Times finally sold the tower, along with 450 acres in 1962, to a real estate developer. Luckily, locals were able to band together. They formed a group called Save Talcott Mountain, and they were able to prevent the ridge from being developed commercially. The state of Connecticut's Department of Energy and Environmental Protection was able to purchase 557 acres, including the tower, in 1966. It was a while, though, before they could actually restore the tower, and it did suffer vandalism. But finally, in 1974, the restored tower was open to the public. Now, you can't drive to the tower. The only way to get there is to hike one of several trails that go up the mountain. But if you can ever do it, it is well worth the trip to see this landmark that was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1983. Have you ever hiked up to the tower, or do you want to hike up to it? Please leave a comment below, and remember to subscribe to this channel. Also, please visit my website, Historic Buildings of Connecticut, historicbuildingsct.com. Subscribe to my Substack called Remembering Old Hartford, and check out my two books, A Guide to Historic Hartford, Connecticut, and vanished downtown Hartford. Thanks for watching.